Richard Carlton here. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I wanted to show up to the broadcast to make sure you folks all know that I still love you and I'm still fighting for you every day. Welcome to FMTrain.tv, where every day we're doing live awesome FileMaker stuff. In fact, some days we learn from you. A lot of times we have something new to show you. We bring other people in, Christian Schmidt, Christian Olson, Nick Hunter, Jacob Taylor. I'm just like the ringleader. And so let's take a look at the quick upcoming broadcast schedule right here. And so this right here is the upcoming broadcast schedule. We were discussing this. We had a little bit of feedback from Jericho and a couple people, and we wanted to make sure that we had all the information correct. So Nick is going to finish his Robot from Hell action going on this week. And then Christian Schmidt will be here on Monday to discuss all sorts of stuff. It should be pretty interesting to see what happens with him on that. That will be Monkey Bread and Easy SQL. I don't know that if those two words ever go together in the same sentence, it makes me really nervous. And then so Nick will be starting a UI UX for beginners next week. So every week will be a different kind of UI UX conversation for 4 weeks. First week, beginners. Second week for intermediate people. Week 3 will be UI UX for iPad specifically. We haven't talked about this in years, right? And then the fourth week will be UI and UX for, I'm just going to say mobile phones. Nick will say go, but realistically, you should be able to apply a lot of what you learned to WebDirect and use it on an Android device. So that would be very, very cool. Don't forget to help sponsor the channel so we can pay Nick. We really want to pay Nick. So if you go to fmtrain.tv, you go to the fmtrain.tv website. Up here, the left tab is your upcoming live broadcast schedule. This video player, the bundles button right here is what we really need. A lot of you have been buying this lately, have been renewing. We really appreciate it. It allows me to make sure that Nick is gainfully employed and is not on welfare living on the street. That we really like that. All right, so Nick, are you ready to go? Show your screen, take over, baby.
I'm ready to go. So before I share my screen, I want to do a little bit of recap, right? Today, what I want to do with the bot, I want to, first of all, I want to show you how we debug. I'm going to show you one of the advantage of using a bot and not using a pixel, because the question came 3 times. The question came 3 times, why using a bot and not a pixels, right? So, and I want to answer this question and have more detail on this, right? So let me share my screen right quick, even though I'm not going to share anything right now. But so why we need a bot? Okay, what's the difference between a PSOS and a bot? The PSOS, it's going to the server, right? And it's going to take all the resource of a server. So it will take pretty much the PSOS. We say, oh, I need 80% of the power. So, okay, I give you because you're on server. You're on server, so you have top priority, right? And depending on what you do, like if you do an intensive replace, for example, and behind the replace, you have like, I don't know, 10 auto entry calculation, crazy calculation, right? You might kill your server, right? And that's not good. The other reason we don't want to use PSOS to do things very intensive is that we don't want to be cumulative, right? So maybe I'm going to show you that.
You don't want to be what? Cumulative?
Yeah, cumulative.
The issue for me, and I had this conversation with Jacob the other day, was that he was PSOSing a lot of stuff, and I'm like, dude, you realize, of course, you're running the risk of having the FileMaker server actually crash, right? If you have the PSOS doing too much, you can crash part of the server, maybe forces you to restart the server. Maybe it doesn't crash all the server, just crashes that part of it. But if you crash PSOS, then SASE and PSOS won't work for anyone anymore at all until there's a restart somehow. And so the idea was to get the robot separated separately on a separate something, right? But you put the robot next to it on the same, on the server rack, right? On FileMaker Pro sitting next to it, right? Is that the idea, Nick, right?
Yeah, exactly. So how we can get there, I want to go to my console and show how it works, right?
Okay,
So
well, what are we seeing right now? We're seeing
yeah,
your,
right now you see nothing because I'm not sharing, but because
you're
I don't
seeing
want to.
FileMaker Pro. We're seeing
Yeah,
FileMaker Pro.
but I
Yeah.
don't want to share. Okay, this is the console, right?
Top Cat
So
says, okay, so you're good now? You're good?
yeah, I'm good. So this is the console, and this is the file I'm using. So this is the two people connected to the file, right? I have two people. I have an EC2 kind of machine, like the bot. Darth Vader is the name of my bot guy. Is the name of my bot guy, and that Darth Vader is connected there with a 50 dots that US UI IP, right? And here I have Nick Hunter with a 190, which is a Colombian IP. Okay, so you can see here the difference that I have in two countries, right? So what happened when we do our, a pesos? So let's launch a pesos that will never stop. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this, right, and make it like
Right
pose.
now, we just sell FileMaker
Yeah.
servers.
So
right?
yeah, I'm going to get this, and pretty much it's a script that I will pose indefinitely. So I'm going to run that, right?
I'm not sure. Will that actually do it? Will the pause indefinitely cause the script to terminate?
No, pause is paused.
If you had a loop that actually kept looping.
Yeah, we can do a loop that do nothing, because you're right, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have, because I said pause. I didn't say quits.
Yeah, when it gets to an indefinite pause where it's waiting the user interaction, the PSOS terminates, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. See, I learned something. So let's do.
Listen, no one knows all this stuff. That's why we get together and do this stuff, because I know far less than you do, but that's one of those moments. Just do that and set a variable equal to
I'm setting
itself.
a counter. I'm setting a counter.
Yeah. Equal to itself plus one. Yeah, just add one. It'll just keep adding forever.
Yeah.
It'll make a big number.
Okay.
Right, run that.
So I'll run this. Okay. So
yeah.
run. Okay. Now I have this.
Ah, there it is.
Okay. Here it is. So what happened if I run it again? So this is running, right? This is running and stuff like that. So what's the activity?
Yeah, you've got the way it works is you have a whole processor basically dedicated to you running that. And if you start another one,
bomb. See?
Okay, run another one. Yeah.
So I'm running another one.
How many processors are? I don't know what size this is. Server. Is this a medium?
Oh, it's EC2. So
it's a medium or a?
It's a medium. Yeah, it's a medium, right. And
I think it's only two processors. So if you get another one going, you're going to be. I don't know if it'll stack them or if it will.
No, it will stack them.
Well, you're going to get stacked there, but I'm talking about in terms of the actual execution, right?
So it will add.
This tells you that it started. Here's the deal. This tells you that it started. Both these are started, but if they're actively being worked on by the FileMaker server as opposed to kind of pausing and waiting, take a look at your processor right now. Is it the dashboard where you looked at the processor?
Yeah, it's increased.
Yeah.
It was 45, now it's 60%, 70% almost.
Let's give it a second. Let's just see what it does.
Like 100.
Yeah. Okay. So you have two processors. So go back to your, so everyone understands how this works. Go back over to, so the way this works is these things sequence into their own processor, right? And what happens is that if you have two processors, then this is going to go, and it'll be on here, it'll be listed, but it'll wait for completion before it really starts the next one, right? I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to work. When you start stacking stuff like this, is it's a bad spot to be in a deal like this, because you don't want, Margaret, can you call Jacob, see if we can get Jacob in here? Because this is a Jacob question. But basically, as soon as you've done this, you're at 90% here with these two. You're already in deep doo-doo.
I'm there. I'm there for a long time, right?
Oh yeah, you're going to be there indefinitely, at least for the one, because the one's an indefinite thing. It runs forever.
Yeah, they are both forever, and they do nothing. That interesting is I'm doing nothing. I'm doing a counter +1 in a variable. I don't even do.
You're not reading and writing data off the
drive.
Exactly.
I'm not doing disk stuff, right? I'm doing memory, by the way. Memory, look, 65%. But I don't do this.
Not even that much memory. Your memory's available. It's the CPU is chewing hard, is what it is.
Yeah,
and almost no network. Because I'm trying to remember. Because that's the thing, like a lot of the, like if you buy the next larger instance up, you get like the extra large instance, it's called a T3-XL. I think that's what RCC has. I think we have 4 processors. So we have 4 processors, and what it does is it tries to, like if you have a backup schedule it's running, it'll use one of them. But each PSOS, it tries to stack them in here and find, and then I don't know if they go into a holding pattern waiting for these to complete before it starts the next one, right? So like Nick, start a third one, but have it count to 100 and then stop. So write your script, and then we will validate that. We'll start it here and we'll see if it actually threads it in, because that'll answer it. Exit, yeah. Exit if it's the counter's 1,000 or something. Or 5, yeah, something at least.
Yeah, at least 10,000 because.
Yeah, because it'll be pretty damn fast.
Yes.
You want to show up.
What's the question? Welcome.
Okay, so what we're doing is PSOSs normally are stacked into processors on FileMaker server, right? So each PSOS, but when you build a FileMaker server, frequently the number of PSOSs it will support by default is like 20, but you don't have 20 processors, right? So we're running a test right now that this is Nick's server. This is a 2 processor server, right? Jacob Taylor?
It's a T3 large, correct?
Okay, T3 large. So that's 2 processors. So this is running in one processor. This appears to be running in a processor. When we checked over here, when we ran one, we got 45%. We ran the second one, we got, it's pulling now both processors together, pulling it damn near 100%. So my question, and this is really relevant to the developers here who do this stuff, if we go back to, I guess, databases and we look at the users, Nick, do you want to start the third one and run it?
Yeah, I'll run it.
We're going to start a third. Now, these are set to run indefinitely. They're like broke. They'll run forever. He's going to start a third one to see if it's going to timeshare.
Yeah, but it would be 1,000. 10,000 is too let's don't stop it because 10,000 is too fast.
Then give it 1 million, right? But I need to see it show up, right? So give it a 1 million. So
I believe all of them will run at the same time. It just at some point your server's really unhappy.
Well, yeah. So each one fills an empty processor until you're out of processors. Then it starts to stack them, and it's like 2 people trying to take a shit at the same time on the toilet. It's going to make it painful for one or both.
So I have this one running.
Just let it go. Let's see if it. I just want to see what happens. Would you give it 1 million?
10 million because it would be too fast otherwise.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
He says he has a counter that's counting, and
So,
I'm trying to see it. I want to validate that this is actually is running, as opposed to just like in a holding pattern, a pause, right?
They don't pause. No. The thing that prevents or could prevent forward access, and you'd have to code around this, would be things like record locking. In this scenario, that wouldn't matter because newer versions of FileMaker, which he's on, it's 19.3, not even 4 or 5, but still, they do a shared read lock. So if you're reading data, you can have as many up to the limit number of however 20 or however the number is, reading the same record at the same time. There's no actual issue with that.
I might have
writing will block.
What'd you do, Nick?
I might have put 10 billion. So
10 billion is going to be a problem, Nick. You got to count your zeros.
Yeah. So that 10 million.
We're just calling you because people are asking, kind of questions about how you position PSOS. And you and I just had this conversation, Jacob Taylor, about you were doing a bunch of internal RCC server monitoring and stuff, and he has it running on PSOS. And my concern was that his PSOS was pretty heavy. And all these, even though these are running on different processors, there is a software process. I'll draw that sideways. There's an FMS or a DB, whatever. So there's one that's the core server, one that does SASE, there's an admin, there's 5 or 6 or 7, 8 of these. Jacob could name them all. But if it doesn't matter of how many processors you have up and down, the software, if it dies or hangs, then you have to either restart the whole box or kill that one process and restart it, and hopefully it resurrects itself, right?
Yep.
Have you had any problems with yours, Nick? Or
well, I never. Okay, because I'm very conservative on this. I mean, I don't. Like I said, 30 seconds for me, I cannot sleep at night.
Right.
right? So a script that's a piece of that more than 30 seconds, I don't sleep. So I don't let it go. So that's why, see, 1 million is too, okay, here.
So how much is an EC2 per month? We will bring this up here, David, momentarily. We'll educate you. So what is it now, Nick? Is it $1 million? What do you got?
Yeah, it's 1 million. So I don't know why. So it might stop it. It might stop it because
just let it go. Just let it go.
Because yeah, now I'm 100%, completely 100.
Yeah, because what it is that they're over jammed or overloaded or whatever they are. Just let it go for a second. It should. There it goes. So it does stack, but everything suffers because of that. Yeah. So that was the main reason we wanted to call you, Jacob, to validate that specific thing. So you just saw a script that ran 20 or 30 seconds, whatever. I think that's fine. But my personal experience, because I was the guy who presented on this in FileMaker 11 back a bunch of years ago at DevCon. I was the first presenter, and the PSAW barely worked. John Thatcher was the engineer who's since retired, lives up in Washington now, somewhere up there. He engineered this thing, and I was going back and forth saying, hey, bug. I could barely get the thing to work for DevCon, and I think it was FileMaker Server 11.01 or 01 or 02 or something. It was like hanging on a hairy edge, and we had to end up concocting the DevCon session, because I don't want to make Claris look bad because they're trying really hard, right? But it really was a 1.0 piece of software, and it acted like it. I guess it's gotten better over the years. And so, Jacob, how long does it take yours to run when you run yours and you on their server? The one I warned you about, I was nervous.
My big one.
Yes.
That is, it's about 20 to 22 minutes.
So I would not let it go that long, but Jacob is a different kind of animal, and he has a different view on the world. We largely agree, and this one, I guess we'll agree to disagree. I think that's potentially problematic.
Too long.
Yeah. Nick, can you go to a web page real quick, and then Jacob, David Angel has a question about EC2. So EC2 is a generic. So we want to tell Nick, where do we want to go to look at like EC2 instances, kind of like collectively? What website would you do that, or just do?
I would very literally Google it. There is an about EC2. Yep, exactly, right there. So that'll tell you. So actually, hold on 1 second. Go back one. I want to tell you, because there were two things on that Google page that I want you to see, and it's
the Google page.
Yeah, go back to Google. All right, so I want to show you literally the two search results that are on this page. The top one is the Amazon page, and you should look at that because it has every amazing instance you've ever heard of, and you should figure out what they are, what their uses are. That's where you can find that information. But pricing is frankly a pain to actually look up and figure out on Amazon's own website, and so that second link is the one that I use. Yeah, that's the one that I use for it. You need to know what your instance type or name or whatever is before you go to the second one, though. What is David Angel's question? I think Margaret's on here.
There was a question about how much is EC2 per month mean approx? Oh,
okay. Essentially, it depends. The biggest and most direct answer to that question is that it depends. There are two major factors and a minor factor that applies to some customers. The major factor is the instance itself, which is what we'd be looking at here. That is the memory and the CPU, the head of the server, if you will. In Amazon, the disks are you think of them in the desktop computer in front of you, or you have a Mac Mini or a laptop or something, and the hard drive is in there. In Amazon, those are unrelated computer systems, and so you kind of purchase things as needed, right? Usage-based pricing and stuff like that. So you pay for the head of the server, and then you pay for the disks, which are the storage where your FileMaker database lives and things, and your backups and stuff like that. So those are the two big. Those two are the two big buckets of prices, which is the instances and the disks, respectively. If you have a lot of data, the disks eat you alive. If you don't, sometimes it's the CPU or the instance that does, just as far as like what the biggest factor in the bill is. The third one is, and it's just something to be aware of, Amazon does not charge for incoming, which is from the server's perspective, to be clear. So you're sending data to the server, you upload images to the server, for example, that's not counted. However, when the server responds, that's counted. And that can be unnecessarily exciting in certain scenarios. So the biggest one that for some customers bites them if they have a lot of data, they might be otherwise okay with, paying for the hard drive space or the backups inside of Amazon S3, which are, I don't even factor them because they're usually pretty cheap. It's like 2 cents a gigabyte tops. But if you need offsite backups, for example, into Dropbox, that, for example, on a daily basis, you're taking however much that is once it's zipped, and you're uploading it from the server every day. And so however many gigabytes that is, Amazon's outgoing bandwidth cost is 9 cents per gigabyte, which that's not much if you only have a gig, right? 9 cents a day for backups is absolutely fantastic. If you have many gigs, that conversation gets changes rapidly. So it's neither here nor there. It's just something to be aware of. Some of my customers that don't, they have a lot of data. They don't do that. Basically, they go.
You know what my father used to tell me? A backup is like an insurance, right?
Yep.
Insurance costs you a lot of money until you need it.
Yeah, and then it's the cheapest thing you ever bought.
Yeah. So if you never did it, if you never need the insurance, too bad. You made an insurance company rich.
Yep. Right? And when you need it, they write checks, and you are so happy.
Yeah, they write checks in 6 months, but they will write. They will write.
Sure, maybe. Yes. But that is the conversation, right? So yeah. that's how we talk about it. So especially, and it's one of the reasons we even we have our customers pay a little more, right? FileMaker server runs on Linux these days. That is actually the kind of server that Nix is right here. That saves RCC a little bit of money. We use snapshot-based backups for that because we can in that scenario. But that said, for a lot of our customer systems, we still put them on Windows. It's a little more expensive because you have to pay for the Windows licensing that's built into the cost, just to be clear. But the reason for that is because I can give you a couple things. Extensive Amazon S3 backups, which are, private giant hard drive in the cloud somewhere. And then second are object lock backups, which are the ransomware protected location. And then if you additionally need sleep at night insurance, you have Dropbox or something like that. And so, we have all of those things available to us. The first two, I don't even ask. You just get that when we set a server up for you. So you have both of the S3 backups.
Yeah. The problem you have in your life, if you have every backup dematerialized, okay, and I don't know, you are disconnected from internet. Worst case, I'm not saying I'm what's the name? I'm not saying that the world is going to collapse or stuff like that. Well, we never know. But for example, I remember last year, the entire Facebook world, the Facebook universe, poofed, for a day, a day, not 2 hours, not 10 minutes, right? So it could happen, it could happen. Let's say you are your home and you don't have internet, right? And you need a backup, or you need something urgent, like, the IRS is going to send you a $10 million bill if you don't send a document right now, right? So you need to have a physical backup, something that you can put, on the shelf and sit, right? So you need something like this, at least once a week, or I don't know. You need. Do you concur with me, Jacob, on this?
Yeah. So that is usually what I'll call it Dropbox backup serves as. You think of a lot of people anyway think of Dropbox as like a cloud file storage sort of thing, and that's totally correct actually. But one way that you can use that software, for example, is if you go into the Dropbox settings and you don't have it be there's a setting called online only. You can have all offline. Yeah. And what that means is, you have a random extra computer. It might even be your own workstation in your office, and its job is to keep an extra copy of those files. Yeah. And what that means is if everything, lights on fire, whatever, but you have that computer still working, you have power for it, at the office, that's all you need. You have your data from within the last 24 hours.
And you
Done.
can use also, if you want, you can use a NAS.
So store extra copies of that.
Exactly.
Correct? Yes.
Yeah. So you can use what we call, or a NAS server, right?
NAS, yeah. It's a network attached storage.
Storage.
If you're unfamiliar with it, go look up a Synology.
Yeah. So you go
which
to
is a very common
so you
brand.
see, it's like you can have a very cheap ones, very expensive ones. I personally have one of those with the extractable. I have two terabyte, one here, right? I have 4 terabytes, and so I'm pretty cool with this.
They're essentially like a tiny dedicated computer full of hard drives, and its job is to store data from you for you. Exactly. That's it. That's all it does. So
and you connect that from to the server to your network, and that's it. You connect that to your router, and that's it. You're good.
Yeah, and you can some of the not the baseline ones, but some of the I don't mean the fancy ones, but one step up maybe can do things like you can set up your Windows computer or your Macs to back up to it and stuff like that. So it can be a central backup location for your other computers, your businesses, your laptops, your whatever.
So that, and you have pretty much, this is kind of it's a server. So it's a file server. So it's not just a storage, right? It's not just a hard drive, It's so one day we can have a session on this to explain the difference from on NAS and a hard drive shared on on your computer. It's not the same thing at all, right? In terms of performance.
And also in terms of redundancy.
Yeah, exactly.
So these are all. This is like a RAID system. It's like a professional backup system, but made consumer friendly, essentially, which is why they're awesome.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's sufficient. Now, if depending how you value your business, right? I know somebody one day said, okay, if I don't have my FileMaker database working like 10 minutes, I'm losing $1 million per minute. So I said, in that case, you need like a atomic rock solid backup system. Okay, so that's all, and he has backup, he has power backup, you have 2 power backups, to make sure that he has internet on power backups, he has everything on power, because he cannot stop his he cannot stop his server, cannot. So that being said, do you want to add anything, Jacob? So yes.
No, not really.
Okay.
So just to kind of give a price range for servers, most of the ones I set up are. I'll give a big range because it covers a lot of different people, but it'll give you a feel for it. Our baseline setup, the like minimum tiniest possible server you could run this stuff on and like consider it a production server, is about $60 a month, up to in the ballpark of $250. So there are bigger ones. I have some customers I've quoted people out for 500 plus, and they're big businesses with lots of data and things like that. So, but it's most of our clients at the 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 user, up to 20 user maybe range, are closer to, we'll say, under 150 in general. So under 200 certainly, but under 150 generally. So
let's thank you, Jacob, for all your amazing knowledge always. And that's true. I have to admit something, that like 4 years I work with you. I'm stunned every time, I'm asking something and boom, right? It's you're the Google specific, for servers and stuff like that. No, it's not.
Thank
look,
you.
No, it's because I'll tell you something. Sometimes you have people know everything about FileMaker server, but they don't squat about Amazon and squat about anything. Or they know everything about Amazon, but they say, "Oh, FileMaker, I don't know what's FileMaker," right? So they know nothing about FileMaker, or they know nothing about. But it's rare to have somebody that knows everything about both, right? So it's it's like me with the design in FileMaker, or or whatever, Kelvin with all the Java stuff in FileMaker. But it's difficult to get somebody that has a specific the qualification, the highest qualification in both worlds, right? So it's so let's I want to wrap up this history of so we saw that that pretty much my server is pretty much busy since then. So, but I want to show you something very interesting. Is that now those two scripts here are running wild. So what we say about wild? I have no way in FileMaker here. For FileMaker, this is gone, right? For FileMaker, this is gone. It's for my clients, is no longer its problem. The two script that I sent is no longer the problem of my clients. Is everything dedicated to that. So that being said, if you want to terminate this, you need to go there to the console, say disconnect the user, put 0 here because you want immediate disconnection, and click OK. And then boom, killed. So they killed. And now my stuff will go down, see, boom. It will go down and it will go down again and again and again and again, okay? So now my stuff going down. So I want to show you the two ways to send those pieces. The first is the pieces with waiting completion off, right? So when I do this, I send, boom, and voila, it's gone. And this will land there, and I have no way to kill it, right? No way to kill it. Just this one, right? And kill. Now, watch this. If I say waiting for completion, what will happen? What will happen? Pretty much the same, but I'm can have a safety net. Not saying that you're going to be without damage at the end. You might have some blue eyes and stuff like that, but you have the way to get out of this. So what happened is this. I click here, and then this happened, spinning wheel. So pretty much I cannot do anything now in FileMaker. FileMaker says, look, you are asking me to wait for the completion of that guy, and I'm not giving up on this until I have the confirmation from the server that is done. So you have two ways now. If you have something like this, and you have a pieces that run like this, and you have two ways to do things. First, you can go to the console and kill it like I just did before. And that will automatically release you. See, he said, perform script on server has been canceled, right? So you pretty much released, but no damaged. But you know what I mean? So, but you were okay. So now you have another way to do that. Let's say you launch this and you are waiting and you have no way to go to the console because, I don't know, you don't have access to the console.
Which is normally what most people, they don't have access.
Yeah, they don't have access.
No.
So if something happened like this, you have only one way to get out of here. This. Force quit. But if you force quit with the waiting stuff, that will kill the pieces. Force quits, bam. That will kill the pieces as well, right?
Really? Are you sure?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Mr. Taylor, are you there? Do you want to we're playing tennis back and forth? You want to?
Why is not killing the pieces?
I'm waiting to see.
Yeah, because I've never heard that.
I always do that. That weird.
Dun, dun, dun,
Well, it
dun.
probably has to. Remember, Nick, it has to time out. Remember, if the server doesn't consider things timed out for 120 seconds, you're gonna have to like
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
120
That's the time.
seconds.
Yeah,
If it
that's the
loses,
time. It will kill it. It will kill it because I quit FileMaker. I force quit FileMaker running the script. So look, it's a good test.
oh, there it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as a reminder, so once again, as a fundamental of life, FileMaker server pings a client, regardless of what the client's doing, every 120 seconds.
Yeah.
If it doesn't see you as a heartbeat after 120
Yeah.
seconds, it disconnects.
Yeah, but you saw that that it works. Okay, that means that's a safety net. You force quit FileMaker. Don't worry, your file shared on the server has no damage. That the beauty of sharing on server is that you can crash, you can destroy your computer and your file has no damage, no no checking at the beginning and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, no.
So that's why I never ever do anything without being on server. Anyway, no. So
I always talk to people about that, making sure you do development on FileMaker server if possible.
You never
monitors a client. Okay, so back up. So let me spend a little time talking about this. So David Angel, it's kind of a peripheral conversation, but it's kind of this like rules of the road, certain things. If you are connected to a client, or you're not a client and you connect the server, FileMaker server wants to see some sign of life for you every 120 seconds. It's been that way for a while. We don't talk about it too terribly often. We talk about it in performance optimization and monitoring and things like that. But where that became really an interesting thing is that notice now that FileMaker, if you close the laptop and walk away, it disconnects you. When you reopen the laptop, FileMaker Pro locally has cached information. It keeps track of where it was at. It has a quick chat with the server as it reconnects the server to determine if it can reasonably resume whatever it was doing. If you were just in a database, in a record, and not running a script, it's really easy to restore from that. If you're in the middle of running a script, it might try to restore running the script, although I don't know if Nick tried to restore the PSOS. I think that's too many bridges. You backed yourself out too many corners. You can't go forward on that. No. But if you have a script, say it's running and on the running locally on your laptop, you close the laptop, it's 5 minutes later, you're removed off of here, you're on here, and it removes you off. You reopen the laptop, says reconnecting, and then if the records that you have and you desperately need have not changed from the server side. But the point is that if the data is consistent between the cache data locally in your client and up on the server, then FileMaker collectively goes, yes, I can resume what I'm doing. Would you like to resume? You might get a message saying, hey, your script was running, but some data has changed. I can't resume. It says some sort of message, data has changed. We can't resume. The script's going to halt. Have a nice life, right? You'll get a message like that. But the 120 seconds is kind of that, it will continue on, right? So same with iPads, same with iPhones with Go, Mac Windows the same, with WebDirect, I think. Now, WebDirect is different because you set the timer on that when you're in an application. In fact, if you go in the configuration in here, click on that, Nick, for me. It's either there or under administration. I know, I'm sure Nick or Jacob already knows what I'm hunting for here. Session timeout, it says no timeout. That's kind of, okay. This is where you force someone who's idle. So they're connected. See, this is really misleading here. They're connected, but they're idle. It should say IDLE. They're not doing anything. They're off having a Diet Coke or something. Their laptop or computer hasn't slept. It's still running. I never set my desktop computers to sleep because it's harder for them to wake up and sleep. You strain the computer more than just leaving it running, right? As a general rule. So what happens is that this says session timeout with idle users, no timeout. However, the 120 second are you still alive thing still applies. On this one here, there is no 120 second alive thing. This is where it assumes that you're still good. So instead of 120 seconds, it's 15 times 60 seconds. So it's whatever that is. It's a bunch of seconds, right? But it's 15 minutes, right? And so in this case, either you're idle or you're disconnected. Okay. If Jacob, if I'm wrong on that, let me know. But this is one of those deals where it's a little bit kind of hanky because this
That's
one up
correct.
here.
Just don't forget the second half, which is the privilege set,
Yes. Yeah.
which this filters through. So there's this conversation about like booting a user.
That's idle. That's
Yeah,
idle.
so like the application of this, for example, is some customers either have a maintenance process that runs at night, they just want everybody to be off at the end of the day, whatever, that kind of a thing. So you have to implement that in two places. One of them is here, which, right, if they are idle for a time period, it defaults to these settings. So no timeout for Pro and Go and 15 minutes for WebDirect. You can change those. Then it can boot them. However, that filters through that user's privilege set. So for example, at least by default, and maybe you can change it, I don't remember. That would be a Richard question.
Bring up your, can you switch to your FileMaker site, Nick? Can we see your FileMaker file now?
Yeah.
Go to File, Manage Security, and let's take a look at that.
Yeah, sure.
This is one of those that's not super obvious, and it's good that it's an obscure topic. We never have a live stream about it, but the other one that's good, Jacob's talking about maintenance at night, but imagine, at least in the United States, a doctor's office. If a doctor's using a computer and they're stepping away, the medical hospital, the facility people try to have that doctor always log off. But if the doctor walks off and it's idle, say more than 60 seconds, it will log itself out, right? It's a forced log out, right? So
I'm logging in. So you wonder
just we're going to need file management, security.
Security, this one.
Yep. So then
perfect. And then do advanced. Okay. So and then look at one of these. So for example, full access, if I'm remembering correctly.
I don't think you can change it there. Maybe you can.
No, but that's why it's a good example. So do you see the hidden right above Nick's mouse? Oh, he moved it. Hold your mouse. Right above Nick's mouse, there's a box that cannot be checked. Disconnect user from server when idle. So that can be customized on other privilege sets. Both have to be set. So the admin console in the background with a timeout period, and then you have to have the privilege set enabled to disconnect the user. If you don't have both of those, they won't. And the full access one that we're looking at here is a special privilege set because obviously you can't disable it at all. In other words, we'll never kick an admin. That just doesn't happen outside of your own internet issues or something else, right? So
if you get disconnected, then remember, if you're internet out, the 120-second rule applies, and then boom, right? So all right, so this one, and once again, this is not the 120-second issue. This is the user is connected, but they are idle in terms of their behavior. The human behavior is idle, or there's no script that's running. Right. So once again, idle is either there's a script. So if you have a script that say is on an on-window timer and it runs every 5 minutes, then as far as the server is concerned, when that script fires on the client every 5 minutes, that machine is busy. It doesn't matter that anyone's around there with their mouse. They consider that a client, a session that's actively doing something, right? So idle is idle activity from that client, right? And then the 120-second has to do with, the person is actually gone already, and we're trying to make sure they're still alive. It's basically if I can't roll up on, Scott Kane and he's on the ground and I'm an EMT and I'm gonna try to resuscitate Scott for 120 seconds, and after 120 seconds, if he doesn't pop back to life, I say, F it, he's dead. I declare him dead. I can't legally do that, but if I did, that's what FileMaker's doing. Right? Pump on him, breathe. Come on, Scott, you can make it. And then 120, it, he's done. He's gone. So that's kind of how that works, right? So
let me let me finish the project for Scott before it's gone.
Okay.
No, Scott, we love you. We love you.
We love Scott. Scott's fine.
I think we're good. It was, we learned many things. So I scared myself because I was doing that. The first quit is what I'm doing, because when I'm building stuff, we know it's pain in the neck when you have, most of the time, my pieces, you have a looping, creating records. So if you have something happening there, it creates millions of records. time you realize it. So the time you realize the thing is going to build is doing this, creating record. Time you open the console, you don't remember the password. Time you land on the console, you click and you disconnect the pieces, you create like 20 million records. Okay, so and then you need something 2 hours to remove them, right? So that's why when I'm in the building process, I don't click off the wait for completion. I'm clicking off the wait for completion when I need it, when I'm sure everything works.
So you always wait for completion while you're doing
when I'm developing. When my script is rock solid and I know this script is finished, is done, is built perfectly, right?
Okay.
I can uncheck the box, but I keep the nets until I'm trained myself well to do the circus stuff. I don't know how you call that. The free flight.
The trapeze.
Yeah, the trapeze, exactly.
Yes.
So
with a net. You have a net. Yeah, you have your net.
You have a net until you go for the show, right?
Yeah.
But until then you have the net. So that's my technique. I'm putting off the on all case, and then when I need to disconnect it, I disconnect the off when I'm sure everything works to prevent the create billions of records and stuff like that.
I have a question. So tomorrow you got more robot action. What are we doing tomorrow?
The schedule was tomorrow, and the last 2 days was open Q&A.
Okay.
All right. Can be anything. Don't be shy.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.